live.
And we're live. Welcome everyone to the Mozilla Science Project Call. This is a time when we just come together, we celebrate new contributors, get updates on all our community projects, and just hear some best practices on open source. So today our MC is Anna.
Hello.
Hello Anna from Sheffield. So Anna, could you introduce yourself and take us away?
Sure, yeah. So I'm actually in Berlin at the minute, and hoping I will be let back into the UK when I go back in a few weeks' time. But moving along from that, yeah, I'm a computational ecologist based in Sheffield. But I've been working a lot with Mozilla this year because I'm really into open science. So yeah, I was obviously super excited to be invited to MC on this particular event, where our special guest is Catherine Ram, who's going to be talking to us in a bit about open code review and open source. But should we kick off? Oh yeah, first of all, if anyone's joining us for the first time, we do use the Etherpad to keep track of the call. So if you've not logged in, could you please go to the Etherpad and you can log in after line 23, and you can also pick a nice color for your entries on the top right corner. So yeah, should we jump straight into the Friends of Mozilla? And I think I'm just going to go through this is where we sort of acknowledge awesome contributions and new projects. And I'll just run through these. Madeline Bonsma has nominated Lisa and Sina and Ahmed for their work on Phage Parser over the Mosfrin. I think we're going to hear from Madeline later on, so you might hear a bit more details about that. Then Akinthia, who's with us today as well, wanted to nominate Michela Paganini for her contribution to the CERN Mosprint site as well, Mosprint site. He says he also has to nominate Hugo Day and Tom Macaulay as well. I'm imagining for their Mosprint contributions as well. Then, okay, he's nominated by Rob Sullivan and seconded by Ethan White as well for contributions to Eco Data Retriever. We have Deborah Diggs for contributing on PMC Ref. And it is the first contributor to that project, so that's awesome. Next we've got Andrea Bedini for holding down the fort in Western Australia during Mosfrin. She was nominated by Abby. And +1 by Aurelia, maybe? Yeah, I think so. And then we've got Dylan Niederhut and Gurpreet for their contributions to the STEM Role Models app. And they were nominated by Christy Whitaker. So yeah, I think we should, yay! I think we should move straight on to our very special guest, who I'm really excited to hear from. So he is Karthik Ram, or otherwise known as Inundator on Twitter. So he works at the Berkeley Institute for Data Science at UC Berkeley, and he's also a lead in the R OpenSci project, which obviously I keep track on. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to hear from Karthik. So Karthik, if you'd like to talk to us about open review in open source.
Awesome, thank you so much. Hi everyone, I'm Karthik. I work at UC Berkeley at the Data Science Institute, and I'm one of the people from the R OpenSci project. And so thank you so much for having me to talk about our code review process, and I can give you a little bit of background on how we started. So for those of you that don't know about the OpenSci project, we are a group of scientists that write software to make open science possible. So we mostly work in the R language, and we write a whole bunch of tools that can acquire data, help you munch that data, some tools for visualizing it, and some tools for sharing that data. And everything is developed by scientists for other scientists. And so we've always had this culture of contribution to our suite. And over the years, even though our staff of developers has always been 2 to 3 people, most of the tools that we have in our suite are contributed by people like you. And so as we started getting more and more submissions, we were running into the process of having to email every single person, tell them that, well, you don't have continuous integration, some of your code is not up to best practices, mostly because people didn't know about things or weren't current on best practices. And so there was a lot of back and forth between us and people trying to contribute software to us. And so a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago, we just decided to formalize that process by pulling together some best practices, starting a new repository where people could just file an issue and then start the conversation. And so here's one of the things that we really, really like about this process. So anyone who submitted a paper review and gotten just very inappropriate comments from a reviewer or completely off base, they didn't quite understand, and you have to write a very, very long explanation back to the editor about why the reviewer is wrong, can be extremely frustrating. If you could just have a conversation with the reviewer and say, are you sure you're talking about this, or is this what I should be fixing? What exactly is wrong with this? Things can go a lot faster, things could be a lot more open, and we wanted to bring some of that into the code review process. And so GitHub has been fantastic for that because all the conversations are completely in the open. It's a two-way conversation between the reviewers, and anyone else that sees a code review can always jump in if they have valuable input. And so thanks to Noam Ross, who's one of our awesome contributors, we've been doing more onboarding lately. And this is how the process works. If you've got an R package, right now our focus is mostly in R, but at some point we might expand to other types of languages. But if you've got an R package that has a scientific application and can help with reproducible open science, we welcome contributions. And just like any editorial process, we do a quick check to make sure it sort of fits our areas of interest. And if not, we let people know pretty quickly. And once that passes, we have a standard checklist. And so if you look on the Etherpad on line number 61, you can see some of our guidelines. And so we try to keep it as open and transparent as possible. It's constantly evolving. Nothing is set in stone. And once people check off a handful of boxes saying they've added a license, they've had continuous integration, they've added proper unit tests, their code is well documented, and if there are any exceptions to our list of best practices, they can say why, because things can vary on a case-by-case basis. And then we try and find reviewers from our community or people that we know through Twitter to come through and give an honest review and help people really improve the package. So we've got a very strong code of conduct, and the whole thing is meant to be a friendly review. And so far, the process has been very, very civilized. Packages tend to be much, much better once they've gone through the review process. And after that, we as a community continue to provide support. So if you start to see some critical bugs that can affect multiple packages, we can let the authors know. We promote the software to get more adoption. And so it works as a very, very friendly process to help people improve their code and get it integrated with other tools that that help open science. And so in a nutshell, that's what our onboarding process is about. And if any of you would like to review for us, please drop us a note at info@roupenSci.org. We would love for you to contribute, even if you're not an R person and just can read code and give people input on best practices. We would love for you to help out.
Great. No, that sounds really interesting. I'm actually just starting off thinking about turning code into a package. So I had a question about how do you get from the stage of just. So I think it's great that you help at the review process, but for example, you want already tests and things like that set up. Do you have any recommendations for how someone can get from useful code to the stage of submitting to you guys? Like how, like testing is the next space I would need to navigate, and I'm not really sure where to go with it.
Oh, that's a great question. So we currently don't have a mechanism to formally help people turn their code into packages, but we have a Slack room that we invite everyone in our community to join, and we provide people with help in that Slack room. So people constantly say, well, I'm not sure how to deal with this particular exception that is very unique to my software. And the really nice thing is that we have people that build these tools, which help in developing packages sitting in our Slack room. So a lot of people from our studio are always on there. Everyone from our OpenSci is always on there. And so if you've got questions on, well, where do I read up on tests? How do I write better tests? How do I deal with these packaging issues? We're there to help. And so we can also provide pointers to packaging best practices and packaging guidelines. But with respect to this onboarding process, we're mostly at the stage of, well, people have already written something and now they want to contribute, and then we can help make it better at that stage. So one of the challenges we have at the moment is we don't have enough people to review. And one of the new things that we've started doing, which is very exciting, is we've tried to make it easier for people that submit software to our suite to also submit a paper to the Journal of Open Source Software. So for those of you that don't know, it's this fantastic journal started by Arfin Smith. I'm part of that project. And the idea is that we would like people that write software to get some kind of formal recognition for their work by writing a very short, high-level description of what the software does. So we can provide a DOI for it, and then we can help people get more visibility for their project. And so anything that has been through the OpenSci onboarding, which is pretty rigorous, we can fast track that package or software as a paper into JOS. And so we are now providing just a couple of additional questions on the checklist where we say, would you like for this to be a paper in JOS? In which case you actually have to follow a couple of additional guidelines. And then as soon as that process is done, we can shuttle them on into the JOS onboarding process. And so yeah, that's what we're trying to do with onboarding lately.
Cool. There's some other questions coming in through the Etherpad. I invite anyone actually below Karthik's entry. Feel free, and anything we discuss through the Etherpad, just feel free to comment or ask questions under the right section. So one question from Abby is, how did you come up with best practices, like the license and unit tests, etc.?
Another great question. So it's just been evolving from things that we've been doing internally, and so we've had a lot of debate about how much code coverage there needs to be, what kind of tests need to be written, and because we deal with a lot of packages that talk to APIs, they're not very standard among our packages, so we tend to do most of that in the R community. And so we've kind of come up with some guidelines just from having to do this day to day. And so even that has been evolving and with input from the community. So if there's anything that you see missing, we would love to hear from you. And then even with respect to licensing, we've been trying to provide guidelines to people. One of the things we would like is for it to be an open source license. And so we work with people and try to figure out what works with them, their employer, and at what stage they can actually contribute this to our suite.
Sure. And well, I think actually linking it up to the Journal of Open Science Software sounds like a really good incentive, actually, to help opening up. But I've got another question come in. Let's see if I can see who it's from Madeline. And she's saying she's not an R person, but in Python there's a massive package repository. Is there something like this in R2? I think it's been answered. Or is OpenSci that? Is this more
yeah, I can say more on that.
Sure.
So yes, we have something called the Central R Archive Network, which is the clearinghouse. And then there's a separate one called Bioconductor, which is sort of more geared towards bioinformatics. But we do a couple of other things to sort of maintain viable software. So once a package has been submitted to our OpenSci, we actually maintain a separate repository that also maintains a copy in case one of these other sources goes down. And we also maintain Docker images that contain all of the R OpenSci packages and other useful packages, mostly built by Hadley Wickham. And so these are always available to people to quickly spin up and use at any time. And our repository grabs the nightly successful build from every single package that we have. Can we see an example of a review on GitHub? So if you look at any of the issues on the onboarding repository, so I can pull up a few links. So I've got a link to one of the packages that was submitted by one of our members, Thomas Leeper, and you can see what a review looks like. We've got 2 great reviews.
Is there a particular one you'd recommend us having a look at?
I've opened the one that you dropped in the Etherpad.
Oh, is there one there? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So packages that have already been onboarded are now closed issues.
Mm-hmm. And then from there, they go straight onto CRAN?
Not necessarily. So what we do at that process is now it can be added to the R OpenSci GitHub repository.
Mm-hmm.
And we encourage people to submit to CRAN, but there's no requirement for them to do so. And because we maintain a repository of all these packages, they can still be installed using standard install.packages, and people can also have them as dependencies on other software, because the links to our packages can always be resolved, and not necessarily just on GitHub.
Excellent. And then from once a package ends up on our OpenSci, does it become more community responsibility to maintain it, or is it still you still have sort of the lead maintainer, the person that submitted it?
Right. So anything contributed to our OpenSci is still owned and maintained by the contributor. So we don't actually take over anything other than providing maintenance and support. So that's one of the things that we bring to this process, is that if you are a package maintainer, it is hard if you're not a regular software developer to stay up to speed on best practices, breaking changes, changes in CRAN policies, things like that. And because we have to keep track of that day to day, what we do is we constantly run checks on all of our packages, and we can email maintainers and tell them, you need to change these things, you need to fix these things. And so we can elevate the quality of packages across the board. The only thing that we do is sometimes maintainers fall behind in providing critical bug fixes, and if we see something failing, we might submit a pull request or a patch very quickly to that maintainer. But we don't actually take control of anything. Everything is the responsibility of the individual maintainers.
Is there a limit to how much, not a limit, but is there a sort of expectation that if people are submitting to you guys, they actively want to then carry on maintaining? Have you had any times where you really needed to push the maintainer, or are they normally quite motivated already on their own projects?
I think people are pretty motivated. So besides a few very prolific contributors, most people maintain one or two packages, and they use it in their day-to-day research. They're pretty passionate about it, and people are very good about maintaining things. So one of the things that we do have in our policy is if something is completely unmaintained, we might either take it over or we might remove it from our suite if it's completely deprecated at some point. And so we do have some expectation of quality and maintenance in our suite, but we try to help people out as much as possible before having to do any of that. And so far, we actually haven't had to remove anything.
Can I ask, do you find that once projects are up on ARB and have you found that they start to sort of co-evolve and merge into each other or start using each other's work?
So that is something that we hope comes out in the review process. And so when we review, it's always hard for people to keep track of things that other people have built, what are good dependencies to add, which ones to leave out. And so just like any other standard manuscript review, the package review process is meant to sort of be this conversation with the developer and say, hey, have you looked into this? And people go, oh, I never knew about that. And even within our suite, our idea is that we can connect various packages that have common goals so that we can actually make them better. And so there are packages in the suite that connect 5 or 6 different related tools together, for example. And so, yeah, so we aim to foster those connections, and yeah, that's kind of what we hope comes out of the review.
Yeah, great. I have a question from Abby here. Has GitHub helped you automate this process?
Excellent question. So there is some level of automation, but at the same time, we like people to be involved in the process. So Scott has written a couple of tools to sort of help us nudge reviewers if they fall behind. And so as soon as a package has been assigned a reviewer, within 2 weeks, we expect a review back from these folks. And if not, there's a little Ruby app that will just drop a note telling people, hey, your review is now overdue. Would you like to jump in on this? But other than that, we don't automate very much. We've been thinking about doing some of that, but for now, the process works pretty well. I guess the one bottleneck that we have is we just don't have enough reviewers, so we end up reaching out to the same people a lot.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Yeah, that is a tricky one. Is there anyone else with questions out there that wants to jump in?
I actually have a question too.
Yeah.
I'll stop sharing my screen. Oh, turn it down. Do you train your reviewers at all to do code review, or just set them on?
We don't have a formal process for training, but that's the other thing we encourage people to do. So we've been trying this idea where for a particular package, we find sort of a more junior person to review. And so these people tend to do a much better job than than someone who's super busy and they just take a cursory look at a package and say, these bits need improvement, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, so we don't actually have a formal process to get new reviewers on board. But what we do is that, we try to find a junior person to join with a more senior person. And because every review is actually open, people can actually look at a previous review and see how detailed people got into. So we're just hoping that all of the reviews that exist serve as a corpus for people to kind of see how the process goes.
Can I ask, do you vet reviewers at all? I imagine obviously you're happy for anyone to get in touch with you, right? But is there a process that you then either match them to the right pro package, or yeah, how do you evaluate your reviewers as well?
So everyone that reviews, we know them through the community as a contributor to another package or a maintainer of another package.
Yeah.
So if, for example, you contributed a package that does spatial analysis, we have an internal chat room, and GNOME also maintains a list of reviewers and their areas of specialization. So we say, well, this other person has written like 5 different mapping tools, and so we reach out to that person to review. But in some cases, some of this is agnostic to the application of the tool. We're just hoping for people that are good developers in R, that have written packages before, that have a good sense of best practices. But we also provide what exactly we are looking for them to evaluate in this particular submission. So yes, it's not that anyone that lists their name will just add them to be a reviewer. We're hoping that they actually have worked in the space before, have written a package before, and have a sense for how these things go.
Sure, but it just seems that might be the limit, is in if trying to attract new people will probably mean going outside of the community already, and it's just that how then do you, think about vetting or there's another question.
Probably have time for one last question.
Okay, yeah. Is there overlap between our OpenSci reviewers and Journal of Open Science software reviewers? Of open source software reviewers?
There are, but that's not required necessarily. So JOS was partly inspired by our OpenSci onboarding process. And so if something has been evaluated by 2 reviewers at our OpenSci, we're happy for that to go to JOS. And most of the things that JOS evaluates is what we already evaluate. And so the only additional thing is the actual paper describing the software. And so, yeah, there's a little bit of overlap. I haven't looked at the editorial board lately, but I'm part of that overlap.
Okay, great. Well, Karthik, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us. Obviously, I think everyone found this super interesting and useful, and I hope for more reviewers for you. Maybe one day I will be good enough to offer some services.
Anytime, just get in touch, and thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Karthik. Yay.
Yay. So I think we'll move on to project updates because we've got quite a few. So is Amit here to talk to us about the STEM role models project? Amit?
I don't think Amit's on the Hangout, but I know Amit put some input in, and this is Kirsty's project that she's running.
Yeah. Sure.
I don't think she's able to join us.
Okay, no, so I'll just go through it. If anyone doesn't know what the STEM roles model project is, there's a link there. And what it is allows you access to a searchable list of researchers that can speak about their work at your conference. And I think they're updating us about all their goings on at Mossprint. So they now have a database, and there's a link there so you can check it out if you want. They still need to do a bunch of documentation on the work they did in Mossprint. So, but obviously they thank everyone that helped. There's links to their GitHub repositories, so if that sounds something interesting, you can have a look and get in touch with Kirsty to help out. More specifically, Kirsty's left a list. They need some writing and feedback on the contribute page. They need some writing and feedback on the frequent asked questions, formatting of the frequent asked questions, and adding a home button to the header, and a few other bits and pieces. So if that sounds of interest to anyone, just get in touch with Kirsty. Then we've got Abby talking to us about Paper Badger.
Hello. I'll just keep sharing my screen. Sorry you can't see my face. Yeah, Paper Badger, issuing badges to credit authors for their work on academic papers. So we have badges.mozillascience.org, and you can go through and see all the methodology badges that have been issued to people. So there's the DOI it's been issued to, and the ORCID. So right now we're actually migrating from BadgeKit to Badger. I should have written that down. I'll write this here. Migrating from BadgeKit to Badger. So if you are familiar with either of those badges backends, we would love your help, especially. But there's still many other issues, especially like if you're in design. This was put together by developers. And also, making new widgets to put so that maybe a researcher who wants to show off all their badges can put a little widget on their personal website. So that would be really cool. So those are plans for the summer, so you're welcome to help. And many thanks to the many people who contributed over Mossspring. I forgot to put them in the Friends of Mozilla Science. I'm sorry, Jose and Andrea and everyone else. You're also very appreciated. Yeah. That's Paper Badger.
Excellent. Super cool project indeed. So it appears I'm next. And this is my first update because it's a brand new project. So my project is R macro RDM. I'm trying to turn some code I developed on the last two projects I worked on into a actual package. Now that I heard from Karthik, I realize I'm even further away than I thought. Well, not really. It's going to be a long journey, but yeah, it's a journey I'm really looking forward to taking. And just by launching it at the Global Sprint, I've learned so much already. So yeah, I'd like to thank everyone that reached out and got in touch during the sprint, including Ethan that's here, who actually went through and had a look and made a pull request, which is amazing. So I've actually had a couple of pull requests on it. Unfortunately, I have to say I've not managed to get someone that really wants to get stuck into the meat of it yet. So I welcome advice on how to do that as well. But I did get some good user feedback. I'm still crowdsourcing functionality feedback. I'm really dying for a good code review. I've never actually really had someone much better than me look at my code and point everything I'm doing wrong out. But I really would welcome that as a first step on the project. And then if anyone thinks this is of interest to them, maybe I should have actually said what it's about. So the package is tries to provide tools and functions to help with handling biological trait data sets in R. So yeah, if any of this is of interest to anyone, I've put a link to both the project and open issues on the Etherpad. So yeah, feel free to reach out and help me. So that's me. If anyone has any questions or comments? No? So I will move on to Bastian, who unfortunately can't be with us today. He runs a really cool project, OpenSMP, which, as far as I understand, you can add your own genetic data. So if any customer-based privately generated data, that you can add that and it compiles it. So he had a blast at global sprint, or they owed, oh, OpenSNP. Sorry. Thank you for the correction. So yeah, they had a blasted global sprint. They got our 2,700 genotyping file, which sounds awesome. They're still growing nicely. You can check their statistics at a link they provided. He says he's finally fixed a bug on a specific statistics plot, which is great. They support files from Genes for Goods. And they've got 3 students making great progress, even teaching each other, which is what we like to hear. They've still got places that people can jump in and help. So as most of the projects are on GitHub, just have a look at their issues page. And there's some labeled easy first bug, so anyone interested in that project should probably check that and wants to find something easy to contribute to as a first time should probably head there first. And there's also a Gitter channel where people can chat to them. Next, we've got BC Climate Explorer.
And I'm sorry that all the verbal ones are in a row.
Yeah, it's such a shame. Joey again. I miss Joey. So Joey couldn't make it again, but that's okay. I will update you on his project. So the BC Climate Explorer, which actually I've not had a chance to have a look at, but that's okay because currently it doesn't do much. But he has a few nice features like adding pins to compare climate units and scatter plots. So he's been working on getting the user interface and user experience components tested and laid out. And he's given us a link to the next set of wireframes. He says he's got lots of issues with functionality, and check those out at their issues page. And they're working on getting their first prototype built, working very closely with Colin Mahoney. Apparently it's great fun, and they've made loads of progress since Global Sprint. There's still areas people can help them with. So some of the issues you mentioned above, but they're still in a place where it could be hard to jump in. So it sounds like in about 2 weeks' time, the project will be in a place where I guess it will be easier for contributors to jump in. However, if there's something you find interesting about this project, yeah, and you want to know more, holler at him on Gitter. And there's a few other links he's provided to the actual project and for getting in touch. And someone's made a comment, really beautiful interface, Joey, yay. So next, Madeline.
She's in the Etherpad. Oh, she's here, I forgot.
Yeah. Madeline, would you like to talk to us about Phage Parser and the project and the progress you guys have been making?
Yeah, so Phage Parser is a project to basically annotate CRISPR regions in published bacterial and archaeal genomes. And for those of you who aren't familiar with CRISPR, it's a really cool adaptive immune system that was discovered about 10 years ago in bacteria and archaea. And there's been a lot of work in recent years on this system, but we think there's a lot of data that's not being used to its full potential. So we want to make annotations on things like which genes are associated with the system in all the published genomes, whether or not these immune systems ever target the host genome, or whether or not there are prophages in the genome, which are viruses that are integrated into a bacterial genome. So things like that will hopefully be in our database someday. So what we've been working on kind of up until now is analysis scripts to do kind of the science part of it, so actually make these annotations. And then the next big hurdle, the next big plan is to make a database. So turn this series of mishmash scripts into something that people could actually query and that people could use, and then eventually have it in a web type thing that people could use. So if anyone has experience with databases or web development or anything, I'd love to chat. That's something I'm trying to figure out now. And probably like Joey, I hope to have it be more contributor friendly in the future as well. So with a little bit of work on my end, it should be better soon.
Awesome. Were you guys on Mozprint as well? You were.
Oh yeah, I should say something about Mozprint.
Yeah, how was that?
So we had a great time in Mozprint, and I had several contributors. So the people at the very top of the Etherpad there, line 47, all of them submitted pull requests that were merged, so that was great. And most of those things were, again, on the science side, so doing analysis on data.
Great. Thanks for that, Madeline. And we can move next up to Achintia, who's going to talk to us about Open Cosmics. Achintia, do you want to jump in?
Oh, he's giving us the wait.
Should I come back to you?
I think I've unmuted myself.
Oh,
Did I successfully unmute myself? Yes, well done.
There you are.
So I'm helping to run a small project called Open Cosmics. I am not a physicist, so cosmic ray physics is not something that I can actually do by myself, but I know lots of people who are doing it and running different projects. So what we're trying to do is to see if we can merge the data sets from different projects, be they citizen science projects or education projects or actual research projects, in order to do some kind of meta-analysis with them. So over the course of Mozprint, we actually got a few people to put together some Jupyter notebooks that have data sets from 2 different projects displayed in a single plots. So just as a test case to see what can be done with the data. And we're now going to be contacting some more projects along the way. We have a whole list of them and try and see if they'd be willing to give us their data sets as well. Also try and figure out a way of storing the data sets in a central repository rather than on institutional servers far away where the servers might not be available 5 years from now. So we're trying to see whether we can get them onto central repositories, assign DOIs, and so forth. So it's in the works right now.
Cool. And any particular areas that you could do with some help, or any areas that people can jump in and help you with?
So at the moment, it would really be helpful if people could take a look at the notebooks that are out there and see what's missing in them or how they can be improved. The main hurdle at this point is access to the data sets from the other projects. So that's something that we're working on getting. So until that happens and people are willing to give us access to them, there isn't much that can be done on that front at the moment. But we do have a few notebooks out there that people can maybe try and break and see whether it makes sense, see whether they can be improved and so forth. That would be great.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Achintia. Next, we're going to move on to WorldBrain. Oliver isn't here today, I don't think. No, he got joined today, but I will read out his update. So
he's in Etherpad though, so I'm wondering if he's going to join. He usually joins.
Yeah, he usually does, doesn't he? But I have to say I haven't seen him sign in, so...
Okay. Oh, he's in the top. Okay, yeah, go ahead and read it out.
Yeah, I'll read it out. Well, hang on, let me find it again. There we go, WorldBrain. Verifying the internet with science. It is a very cool project, actually, I have to say. So their updates are they published their first working proof of concept, which is great. A channel in Hypothesis Hypothesis that displays related content for the pages you visit. I think should I quickly say what they're trying to do I think what they're trying to do is once you read sort of an article online to be able to be given context or rate the article on how accurate it is scientifically, if you like. So yeah, they have a channel that displays related content at the minute, and they have clarity about the product specs now. There's a link to more info there. So the key features at the minute, they can do automatic retrieval of related content for articles, blog posts, scientific papers, from personal or science community trusted networks. They're performing individual searches through all of those sources at once instead of searching every page manually. Bookmarking, annotating, sharing, and discussing web content with the community and the public. possibility for developers and data journalists, scientists to add new ways of putting web content into context, for example, by displaying altmetric data or scholarly citations. And their next step is to build a prototype that serves the first bullet point, so giving you recommendations from a set of science community trusted outlets. So they've got links to their GitHub folder where you can get involved, and specifically where others can help out. So you can install their bookmarklet and press it every time you're on a website you trust in your web research. The domain then will get sent to them anonymously, and they'll index it and make it part of their recommendations. And there's a link there with their installation guide as well. So I'm going to move over to Ethan now, who's going to update us on Ecodata Retriever. Hello, Ethan.
Hey. So my lab develops the Ecodata Retriever, which basically automatically downloads, cleans up, restructures, and installs ecological and environmental data sets with the goal of basically letting ecologists quickly get down to doing science and skip over that 40% of their time spent trying to get the data in shape to work with. It's been a good month. We had a great set of contributions from Deborah Diggs at Moz Sprint, including a whole bunch of sort of fundamental stuff in terms of improving testing and documentation, fixing a long-running bug that we ran into when we hit huge out-of-memory scale data sets, and stripping off an ancient graphical interface that was causing us no end of maintenance problems. So that was really nice. And then we've also, just as of this morning, we are now fully Python 3 functional. So it's a Python project built in Python 2 back in 2010, and we've got a Google Summer of Code student, Akash Goel, who's done an awesome job and has just got us fully up and running on Python 3. So that's really cool.
Excellent.
And yeah, other than that, the issue queue is always busy. There's a Gitter chat room for folks who are interested in contributing. And our biggest sort of thing going forward right now that outside help will be really useful on is as we move to 2.0 here sometime in the next couple of months, we're going to expand out and start working with data from across a variety of domains. What our software does is completely agnostic to ecology data. And so we're starting to try and leverage it to help in other fields. And so that's somewhere in particular where, since we're mostly ecologists and environmental scientists, help from other folks can be really useful.
Cool. Thank you very much, Ethan. So the next update is going to come from Max. I believe you're here. You don't have a microphone. Okay, that's fine. I will read Max's update for him. So Cytoscape.js is a graph theory and network library, which is really cool, I should say. I have checked it out. And Max is listening to us. And okay, yeah, I'll read out for him. So version 2.7 has just been released with lots more performance. It's a shame Max hasn't got a microphone to update us on those, but you can find details of all the new features in a blog post that he's provided a link to. And there's also a blog post for release updates and the tutorials. And then there's also a link to their plans for 3.0, which I imagine is where they're looking for help and new contributors. And so more specifically, where can others help? You can check out their tutorials and let us know what you think, so provide some feedback on them. Apparently there's going to be more tutorials coming soon from their student Joseph Stoll. Also, they're happy to hear about what features you'd like to see for 3.0. And again, I imagine opening an issue or having a look at their issues and interacting through their issues to help them out with that is the way to go. PRs and GitHub are always welcome, and they want to highlight a couple of recent contributions, like Mike Bayon and Tony Mullen. And I think that brings us to the end of the project updates. So thank you everyone for getting involved and joining us today, updating us on your projects, and of course, thank you very much for Karthik for joining us and letting us know about our OpenSci.
It looks like we have a couple of new volunteers.
Sorry?
We have a couple of new volunteers under line 338.
Okay, yeah.
So it might be interesting if you see someone there that would be great for your project, please reach out to them. But yeah, can you read them out?
Yeah, totally. We've heard from Arpit Gogia, who I think is here with us actually, and he or she is interested in great science.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Hi, Arpit. Would you like to jump in and introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I'm third year, kind of third year. I'm going into third year now. Engineering student here from India, Delhi exactly, and just looking to contribute to projects on Python and JavaScript, particularly Node.js. I'm more of a backend and database kind of person. So yeah, pretty cool projects here.
I'm sure I've already heard people talking about Python or database contributions, so
yeah, so
ready for you can help out with. Right, yeah, thanks for joining us, Arpit. And then Mina Islam as well. Mina, are you here?
I don't think she's in the...
Okay, that's fine. So I'll just, she's interested in Python as well and data science, and she wants to start with contributing to different tech projects and in any leadership area. So if that sounds like a volunteer that fits your bill, reach out to her. She's left her Twitter handle, I think. And then, yeah, sorry, finally the community updates as well. MozFest coming up soon, October 28th, 30th. Yay! So yeah, I hope to see everyone there. I'm totally going. I went last year. It was amazing. And yeah, I'll be helping out this year, I imagine. So yeah, feel free. There's a call for proposals to run sessions at MozFest. And I think Abby, you've left a link where people can make proposals, right?
Yep. Yeah, so it's open till August. Oh, I forgot the date.
Okay, so we put that on. When is the deadline for the proposals?
Let me check. August 1st.
August 1st. Oh. Aurelia, help me out. Yes.
Yeah, there she is.
For some reason I can't actually.
Magical Aurelia.
Yay. First deadline for proposals. Yeah. So yeah, is there anything else? Is there anyone else? Any other comments from anyone else? No? Great. Well, it was awesome to hear from everyone, see everyone, and the next project call is, I'm not sure. Abby, when is the next project call?
Oh, I should have written that down too. It is in July 28th.
July 28th. We don't have any
And Andrew from libraries.io will be our guest speaker.
Excellent.
We'll be talking about interoperability, so that'll be very exciting. Yes.
Excellent. So yeah, hopefully see everyone then. Thanks again for joining in.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.